This is Seahawks Today. I am your host, Will Ortner, and we're going to be diving into the latest questions that Seahawk fans have about the Seattle Seahawks. It's been a busy offseason, to say the least, although it's been a very short offseason. So I know there's a ton of questions that are circling, a ton of hot takes when it comes to some of the free agents or potential draft picks that the Seahawks could make. So we're going to be answering all of those questions and talking about that today. But before we get into any of that, St. Patrick's Day is right around the corner, and Chat Sports has you covered on the freshest t-shirts that you could possibly wear when you're out having a good time on St. Patty's Day. We got the Seattle Drinking Team. You want to establish yourself as a founding member, you can grab this navy t-shirt or you can grab the green. I think both are super cool. Super affordable as well. Only $29.99. You can go grab yourself up one and you'll be looking so fresh, so fly. They're made from the same quality material like the t-shirt that I have on right now. All you got to do is go into the comment section or description of today's video. Click on the link that we have. It'll take you right to where you want to go and grab that t-shirt. Plus, if you go grab a t-shirt, we are going to shout you out on a future show. I get alerted when you make that purchase, and so I'll make sure that everybody knows that you're a part of the Seattle Drinking Team. Timmy! What's going on? Tim Riggins. I hope that's the real one. Who should the Seahawks sign in free agency? Tim, I think that's a fantastic question, and as much as I would love to sign you in free agency, I think that there's a player that just hit free agency from the Miami Dolphins that would be great in Seattle, because I do think that there is a chance that Seattle ends up moving on or not being able to keep not only Boye Mafe, but I do think that there is a world where Uchenna Nwosu doesn't come back to Seattle just because of his price tag. I think that Bradley Chubb could potentially come into Seattle and be a little bit of a cheaper position player. And what Chubb does a great job of doing is not only does he get after the quarterback, he also does a great job of stopping the run game, which we all know is something that is very important to head coach Mike Macdonald. So if the price tag is right there, don't be shocked if the Seattle Seahawks end up going out and signing a guy in the name of Bradley Chubb to be an edge rusher for the Seattle Seahawks. What I also believe is cool about the Seahawks potentially going out and adding Chubb is that he does get them to be a little bit younger, right? When you talk about the Seahawks team, they're very young in most positions, but in that edge room, they are not as young as we might normally want them to be. Well, Bradley Chubb can help you get a little bit younger there. If you want the Seahawks to continue to crush this offseason, make sure that you like this video. Don't jinx it. Whenever you have an opportunity to not jinx anything, I try to make sure that I stay a part of it. I'm going to like today's video. Make sure that you do as well. I'm not superstitious. I'm a little stitious. And that's why I'd make sure that I'd hit that thumbs up button on everything we got going on today. Pop Toes, what's going on, man? Do you think we can get Maxx Crosby? I think that is a fantastic question, Pop Toes. I do believe that the Seahawks are going to be able to potentially get Maxx Crosby, because when I look at what the Raiders are asking for, I think it makes sense for the Seahawks to come in and make that trade actually happen. Now, this is a trade that was proposed on our Raiders Report show. Host Mitchell Renz over there, he said that the Seahawks could potentially get Maxx Crosby for 2 first-round picks and Tyrese Knight. In my head, do it. You're trading away a guy who's been a backup player for the Seahawks this year, re-signed Drake Thomas, and you're giving away 2 first-round picks. Probably not going to be high picks. Definitely not the 2026. Don't expect the 2027 pick to be very high. You're telling me that Seattle can get a better player or a player of equal talent to Maxx Crosby at that spot? Probably not. Make the trade. Go get Maxx Crosby. Michael, thoughts on picking up Kenneth Gainwell? It's not a bad decision necessarily, but to me, I think if the Seahawks are going to go pick up a Kenneth, it should be Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Gainwell could be someone that you say, hey, we want to go 2 running back system. Zach Charbonnet, we don't like the progression that he's had so far when it comes to his knee injury. Hey, why don't we go and grab a guy like Kenneth Gainwell to be that second guy? I think that George Halani kind of fits what you want to do already. Plus, you have futures contracts with Cam Akers and Bayless Jones and Jacardier Wright. So you already have some running backs that are in your system that are going to be a little bit cheaper. So unless you really believe that Kenneth Gainwell is going to be someone that takes this running back room to the next level, I don't know that that's where I would typically go. Bunny, what's going on? Would you sign Pittman if he doesn't sign with the Colts? And if you do, why and how much would you pay? Yes, I would like to kick the tires on Michael Pittman Jr. The reasoning for this is he does something and is a type of player that the Seahawks don't really have other than A.J. Barner. So when you look at the Seahawks offense, look at the wide receiver room and think about the players that they have. Cooper Kupp is a little bit on the taller side, but he's not all that tall. Jackson Smith and Jigba's undersized. Yet Rashid Shaheed is going to be on the smaller end. Torrey Horton, they're going to be on the smaller ends. At least they are going to be speedsters, not so much as a throw up and get the ball guy. A.J. Barner kind of fits that role for you right now. Michael Pittman Jr. could easily take over as the wide receiver that is on the taller end of that side. When I look at his stats so far in his career, I would tell you right now that our guy Michael Pittman Jr. is a stud, and he is someone that could instantly add into this offense. The Colts, they're not going to be able to keep him and Alec Pierce. So to me, if they do move on from Michael Pittman, he could add as a tall, big, box-out type of receiver that the Seattle Seahawks do not already have. Who do the Seahawks have to re-sign this free agency? Make sure that you sound off down below in the comment section and let us know loud and proud. We want to know what your opinions are of the Seattle Seahawks and who is the most important player that they have to keep in free agency. Xander, let's go Hawks. I can't wait for the combine and I can't wait for the draft. Shout out to the U.S. Olympic women's hockey team for kicking some ass. Hey, Xander, I want to make sure that I let you know and I let anyone else know who's viewing today's video. Chat Sports, we're going to have boots on the ground at the combine. So we are going to have a ton of content here on the channel surrounding the Seattle Seahawks and some potential draft prospects for our team that we all know and love. So make sure that you're subscribed to the channel so you can view all the fun content that we have coming out next week. Combine is right here. Also, suck it, Canada. Light Shadow Onyx, what's going on? How would you feel if we got rid of Walker, but able to go get Breece Hall for a cheaper price? I think if you get priced out of Kenneth Walker, that means he's making probably close to top 7, top 5 money in that running back room and in the running back position. So if that's how much he's going to make, that puts Kenneth Walker somewhere around the $12, $13 million range. That seems a little bit high to me. So yeah, I'd be okay going after Breece Hall. Now, Breece Hall obviously has some of the injury issues in his past, but I do think that he would fit well into this system. And you have to remember that Seattle wants to run a two-headed running back type of system. So eventually Charbonnet would be able to come back, or George Halani would step into that role. So yeah, potentially, depending on what you could get Breece Hall for, I would not hate it. Kenneth Walker, he's still going to be my number one guy, though. Jerry! By the way, Jerry, shout out to you, a new member of the Seattle Drinking Team. I saw that you got one of those t-shirts. Shout out to you. Thank you so much. Seahawks trading the 32nd pick, no doubt. John Schneider going to create more picks. A diamond would need to fall to 32 for them to make that pick. Jerry, I don't hate that decision. You have to remember, because of the Rashid Shaheed trade, the Seahawks don't have their 4th or their 5th pick in this draft. So that means the Seahawks have 1, 2, 3, and 6 in this draft. Now, there is a chance they could get some compensatory picks, right? But right now, Seattle doesn't have a ton of draft picks, and it isn't that shocking for the Seahawks in the John Schneider era to trade back and acquire more and more and more picks. JS is much more of a GM who likes to have a lot of quantity when it comes to his draft picks, so that if a couple do end up hitting, he gets to maximize as much of those picks as possible. I don't hate that decision there, Jerry. Jerry, you're right back. He says, what does the secondary look like if we lose Reek Woolen and Josh Jobe? Well, Devin Witherspoon's still under contract, and I do believe the Seahawks are going to end up extending him. The other guy who would be still there is Nehemiah Pritchett. If that's what the Seahawks end up doing, you're going to have to find a way to make a big-time free agent signing, although the free agents in this cornerback room and class are not that great. That's why you're seeing Woolen really pop up more and more, and he moves higher and higher on a lot of those cornerback boards. And if that's the case, well, then Seattle, they're going to have to use at least one, if not two, of their first couple of picks on a cornerback early. Because I'll tell you right now, it's not a whole lot of cornerbacks in Seattle's room. Payton, what's going on? I think we can get Tyler Linderbaum, 4 years, $76 million. Linderbaum might end up making a little bit more than $76 million, but I do think that the Seahawks could go out and grab him. Now, it is important to note that Linderbaum is one of the best, if not the best, centers in the National Football League. He is going to reset the market. Look at how well he performed in Baltimore. When you're having a PFF grade close to 80 overall, you're doing something pretty darn right. I would love the Seahawks to go after him and pay him a ton of money, but you're going to have to reset the market. Right now, Creed Humphreys makes the most when it comes to that center position. So if the Seahawks are going to get this done, they got to pay Tyler Linderbaum a ton of money. And I think that they could. Also be on the lookout for a guy like Connor McGovern of Buffalo, someone that could be a little bit cheaper, but Seattle goes after and signs at center. Also important note, because I want to make sure this is clear, you would not move on from Jalen Sendell. You would move him to potentially right guard, let him go and battle it out with Anthony Bradford. Payton, playing with fire, bro. Also, I don't think the price for Maxx C will be way too high. Let's go back into that trade graphic because I really want to dive into it a little bit deeper since we're having so many questions, and we're having so many great questions around the potential for a Maxx Crosby trade. When I look at what Mitchell Renz, our Raiders report host, a guy who is more plugged in with the Las Vegas Raiders than pretty much anyone on the planet, he has the Raiders being willing to give up Maxx Crosby for 2 first-round picks and Tyrese Knight. To me, that's the Seahawks giving up a backup linebacker, a good linebacker, but a backup. They would be trading the 32nd overall pick, which essentially is a second-round pick, no matter what. And then if Maxx Crosby comes into Seattle, you cannot tell me that this isn't a postseason team. You cannot tell me if Maxx Crosby comes into Seattle with the coaching staff that the Seahawks have built, with the offensive roster that the Seahawks have built, that this isn't a team that could go back-to-back. So you're potentially telling me that the Seahawks would be giving up the 32nd pick 2 years in a row for Maxx Crosby? Hell yeah, I'd make that deal. Hell yeah, I'd make that deal. Worst case scenario for the Seahawks, that first round pick next year is going to be what? 20th? Maybe? I don't think the Seahawks are going to be in the teens. They're a postseason team next year right now without Maxx Crosby. So if you're telling me Seattle gets Maxx Crosby, I think that we could go back-to-back fairly easily. All of a sudden, the Seahawks are the dynasty of the 2020s. And what's most important is that you're really giving away nothing to the Raiders. So yeah, I do that deal, and I do it in a heartbeat. Let me know what you do down below in the comment section. Light Shadow Onyx, he says, rate my Seahawks mock draft. Zachariah Branch at wide receiver, Kamari Ramsey, Zaki Wheatley at corner, Gerard Washington, cornerback, Aiden Fisher, linebacker. I actually don't hate this. This is a very good mock draft if it's your very first one, Light Shadow Onyx, because you have the Seahawks taking a bunch of guys in positions that they will need. Wide receiver, there is a potential that the Seahawks will need to go in and draft a wide receiver. Daniel Jeremiah had Seattle taking KC Concepcion, so that makes sense. You're going out and grabbing a safety. Potentially could need a safety, especially if Kobe Bryant moves on in free agency. Definitely going to need a lot of corners, especially if Woolen and Jobe both end up moving on. And going to need a linebacker. Whether the Seahawks bring back Drake Thomas or not, you're going to need more depth there. So when I look at that, that's pretty good. You're hitting on a lot of positions of need. Now, I'd have to look at the mock draft itself to see who was there at those specific positions at that specific time. But I'll tell you right now, Light Shadow Onyx, give you a strong B+, sir. Give you a very strong B+. Tech and Power Hub, what's going on, sir? Says free agent sales pitch. Want to be a champion or not? That's so effing fire, sir. That is so effing fire. I know that that's going to be Mike McDonald's pitch as well. That's what I said to Searle when he was coming on to be our producer here. I said, do you want to be a champion or not? And then he took off his Nebraska hat. Sorry, producer Searle's let me know that I'm number one right now in a finger that I cannot show up on the channel. Arcane Eclectic. Arcane. Good to see you, sir. Hopefully I didn't butcher that. Have you guys done a mock draft yet or talked about our wants and needs and who is sitting around our draft spots? Thank you so much, by the way. Love and appreciate you. Arcane, we've talked about a couple of guys that the Seahawks could take in that first round draft slot. In fact, we've talked a little bit about some position players that I really like, an offensive lineman that I really like. We've talked about a couple of defensive players that I really like, and a cornerback for that one specific spot. Now, believe it or not, because the Seahawks were winning so much, I wasn't able to actually go in and do as much combine and scouting as I might normally want to. So what we are going to do, as the NFL Combine is next week, we are going to do more and more research here on the channel, that I can promise you, and we are going to do more and more mock draft content. Now, we've done a couple of different videos already on the channel about what could happen at pick 32. But I'm telling you right now, we're going to do a lot more on a deep dive on the second, third, and sixth round picks that the Seahawks have right now. So don't worry. More and more mock draft content will come out, and I'm sure I'll have you guys ranking my mock drafts here very soon. The commish. What's up, Raji? Should the Seahawks draft an offensive lineman at pick 32? Hey, look, Arcane. We're going to talk a little bit about the draft right here, right now. I'll tell you that if Seattle is going to make a pick in 32, they're going to keep it if they choose to, and they go offensive line. To me, it's this duck right here, Emmanuel Pregnon. He had a very good year last year with the Oregon Ducks. Obviously, these are PFF grades, so it is important to note that they're not always going to be perfect, but they're pretty darn good. When Pregnon was playing for the Ducks, obviously got to see him a lot. I'll tell you right now, he was fantastic, really held down that offensive line, played extremely well. Very good in the pass pro as well as in the run blocking, but he also does a fantastic job of not doing the stupid things. You can see right here from the stats that while the overall is great, he doesn't give up sacks. He doesn't really let his quarterback get hit. He does a great job of keeping the pocket clean, and he doesn't cost his team extra yards. So when I look at a guy like Emmanuel Pregnon, I think that he would be a perfect fit in Seattle. He's mean, he's nasty, and guess what? He plays guard. He plays freaking guard. So that would make sense for the Seahawks, to me, if they are going to go in there and draft an offensive lineman for that spot. Make sure that you don't jinx it. Come on in, hit the thumbs up button on today's video, and make sure that you join us next Thursday when we are live, so you could potentially be added in to our mailbag like so many of the other wonderful 12s who are hanging out with us on Thursday when this video, of course, was filmed. Make sure that you hit that thumbs up button. We always really appreciate it. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, make sure that you do that as well. Thank you guys so much for viewing today's video, and I can't wait to see you guys next time.